I hope I didn't confuse you last night. Sometimes I confuse myself. I think where I'm coming from is I don't have it really clear in my own mind, but just the tendency towards dogma and belief can, anyway, that's what I was coming from. I better not go there. This way of teaching from the heart is what Luangpor asked us to do. And for me, it's just kind of trying to plug in, feel the energy, maybe kind of just get a sense of where you're at in some intuitive way. But I must admit, I'm very impressed with how silent everyone is and how you just get on with the practice. It's really quite inspiring. So I kind of feel I shouldn't even say anything. You seem to know what you're doing. But then I need to earn my rice, as I say. Um, well, I think yesterday I said that for me, the balance that I find helpful is open heart and silence. And that seems a very experiential definition. And I'm a kind of guy that I don't tend to, fortunately, I did in the past maybe. I don't try to match my experience to a set of concepts. I try to see what actually works for me, and then I get the concepts around that, if you see what I mean. And so I'm not, if there's a if there's a way of describing things that I don't understand, I don't worry about it. I just get on with, well, what actually works for me. So it's and that I can know for sure, even though I might not have the description of it. I know this works for me. And what is it that indicates it works for me would be somehow the end of suffering. Quite simply, that's not complicated. And then what doesn't work is if I create more suffering. That's fairly straightforward. And then what is suffering? Well, for me, it become that definition becomes more and more refined. But what is non-suffering is definitely the open heart. I can really see when the heart's open in just a very natural way, nothing extraordinary, just a natural sense of openness. I feel very relaxed. I feel very at ease, and I feel very in communion with other people. And that to me is very significant. Now, how you describe that in canonical terms, Brahmaviharas, or to me, doesn't seem that important. Is this metta, or is this karuna, or is this upekkha, or is this mudita? That to me takes me into intellect. But the heartfelt feeling immediately of being present to anyone or any situation is simple. It's very, very simple. So I find that sometimes too much language complicates things. So I use simple language like open heart. But then that's kind of experience of what that is. And then from that simplicity, I can explore, well, what is the open heart? And how can I manifest that? How can I make that stronger? What happens when the heart closes? So I was somewhere recently, I forget when, and I was in a communication with a few people, and I just walked out totally confused. Like, really confused. What was that about? So I didn't know what it was about, but I could see, well, the heart's not open, but I can be open to the heart not open. You see what I mean? So the heart was, I guess it was just the messaging in this group of people and um, like, are they saying anything? Or I didn't know it was me or them or whatever. But anyway, I walked out of the situation feeling quite confused. And that's just the mind feeling confused in a social situation. That's not me. That's not who I am. Is it? No, it's just a confused mental situation. And then I can always return to, oh, wow, this is very confusing. So awareness is always bigger than any mental formation or physical formation. And that's why those mental formations, it's not who you are. The language that comes up or the emotions come up, they're just paticca samuppada, right? They're just dependently originated. But that capacity to walk away from a feeling of confusion or a situation and to feel confused and just know, well, what was that about? Is awareness. And then if I'm just with that and I don't invest anything into it with thinking, what did they do? Was there? Was it my fault? Was it their fault? Is there any fault? What's the matter with me? What's the matter with them? That investment of thinking is what we call Sakkaya Ditthi, personality view. So we make this something more concrete than it really is, and we get kind of stuck there with a sense of self. And then the heart's not open. The heart's not open. So I can be open. And so that's why for me, open-hearted isn't necessarily an emotional condition. To me, it seems something bigger. And that's why I tend to, when I think about samadhi, I tend to like that kind of simple definition, that the open heart and silence seems to be able to accept all things and reject none. And there's a kind of peacefulness, the background. Whereas if I thought the open heart was in emotional state, like loving kindness in relationship to someone else or whatever, then what would I do with confusion? I thought, well, that's not loving kindness. I shouldn't have confusion, because then I would just be caught in the object, whereas awareness is not about the object. So as you notice in this retreat, I'm constantly emphasizing the background, the ocean, the white of the page, the awareness, and making that primary. And then the objects, I'm saying, well, they just come and go. They come and go. They come and they go. And the quality of the object comes and goes. So in that simple experience, the quality of the object was quite uncomfortable, not in a painful way. It was like confused, but awareness just knew that, and so it didn't make anything out of it, and it ceased, cessation, gone. That's not a big deal, but I think it does indicate in a very simple way where freedom lies. It does not lie in the quality of your experience. It cannot. The quality of your experience is always dependent on other factors, your body, the emotions, and so on. So what is unconditioned, uncreated? Where is refuge? Where is your real home? And to me, it seems it's more like that way of entering into this silent background. And then if I find if I have trust in that and faith in that, and I can kind of just, okay, I get that, then just abiding as that for long periods of time seems to then um, invite the background. It invites the silence because I'm now available to silence. I'm available to the background. I'm available to the depth of what consciousness can be. It's kind of like an invitation. Whereas if I'm always just caught up with my thinking mind and my judging mind and my analyzing mind, and my mind is just that, then it's like I haven't given an invitation to silence or an invitation to the depths of peace which are possible. If I look for depths of peace as an experience, then I'm out all the time. I'm out looking for something, and that which is not peace and I fight. So it's just talking with Tarek about the quality of silence that we can experience. And silence and open-heartedness is, to me, something that is always available. It's always there. And it feels like there's no desire there. Like just that question yesterday from, hello, everyone online. I didn't say good morning. Sorry. I still love you. I always will. But just that question that Nirodha is some kind of destruction, or really, when you think about it, or you just feel it, when you don't really want anything, And when you're not making it, you have no program of getting something, and you're allowing this moment to be what it is. That's quite beautiful. So desirelessness is quite beautiful. Nirodha is quite beautiful in that sense of being very, very free. Listening is a way of talking about awareness too. Listening is not just listening to sound, but like if I, the way I like to introduce the meditation, I say, listen to sound. And then listening doesn't just point to the sound, does it? It points to itself, to awareness. So awareness is a kind of listening, let's say, for a way of describing. And listen. So to do that, you have to stop. You have to actually stop and listen. But is there anything you're trying to become in that listening? I'm not trying to become anything. So now that's what I mean by availability. You're just available. Very simple. No agenda, it's just listening. And does that not then begin to approach peace and silence? Why? Because peace and silence is the background. It's quite simple that way. So let's say I get the feeling for that, and I can do that for 30 seconds. Then what will often happen is there's nothing happening. I want some experience. And that's kind of like scrolling through your device. You put your device down, and then, oh, this is nice. And then the desire for experience comes up, and then you pick up your device and you start scrolling again. That's what the mind is doing, because it's so habituated to experience. It wants experience, beautiful experience or whatever. So actually, to sit in this very simple, open-hearted silence is challenged by tanha, the desire for experience per se. Now, if you notice that, the kind of wanting something to happen, you stay with that, then you're available to silence. You become more and more available to silence, and silence begins to touch you. And what is happening in terms of the Four Noble Truths, you're constantly allowing bhava and vibhava tanha to cease. They come up into the mind, and you want something to happen, or no, it's just listening. It's listening. And things cease, which is a very, very subtle kind of approach. And it's not like a huge effort. It's very, very subtle. Thinking, what do you do with all the thinking? Well, you could get a lobotomy. That would be one way to do it. Just cut the brain out. But that's not going to be good. But the thinking mind is very, very compulsive, attractive. And one of the insights I had some time ago, it's hard to explain, but I could see that I'm like thought come up. I'm trying to get rid of it because I want to, I'm fed up with thinking. What the interviewer, the question said, I'm sick and tired of thought. I want to get rid of it. And so I could see that the problem was that I kept trying to fix it. And then I asked myself, actually, have I ever not been here? Have I ever not been present? It was a strange question. And I could see that awareness or consciousness was always there, but the sense of self wasn't always there. And I began to see that actually the background is always there, and the attachment to thought is the sense of self, the sense of I that comes out. Now, I don't know how you do that with thinking, because quite often there's this battle with thought. One of the ways to do that is to really note the end of thinking, to really, really make that important part of a meditation, like the space at the end of a thought, because you know whatever's going on in your mind, at some point something is going to interrupt your thinking process. Correct? I'll cough. You might have a pain in your leg. The bell might ring. Whatever. And in that point, there's a kind of space and a silence of there's no person there anymore. There's just the emptiness of the mind. And we don't tend to notice that. We don't tend to celebrate that. We don't tend to make that strong. So, you know, the way Luangpor Viradhammo would emphasize, like, take a thought, think it through deliberately. Tomorrow is Tuesday, is it? Tomorrow is Tuesday. And actually, like, notice no thought. Notice silence. Notice the space of no thought without repressing thought, not trying to get rid of thought. And start to make that space of no thinking or silence something that you recognize because it's there all the time. Then use something like Buddho. Say use Buddho. Say no, just say Buddho, and then notice the silence after the word. Luangpor Viradhammo's phrase. It's like this. Notice the silence after that. Keep remembering silence. Keep remembering the space of silence and see that the thinking mind more and more is an object, and that's what the sense of self is a thinking mind. If you want to take a larger mantra, you could do, I love you, I've always loved you, I will always love you. Take something larger, take something bigger, which requires more words. But then do it really deliberately. Don't do it half-heartedly. I've loved you, I've always loved you, I will always love you. Notice the silence after. Keep noticing the silence. Really, really make an effort to do that. And then if you pick up Anapanasati, whatever you like to do, try to come from that silence, silent knowing, silent listening, one breath at a time. And when you start to do that, then you might notice that in relationship to thought, quite often you're just trying to get rid of it, or you're lost in it. You know, one or the other. One or the other. You're not trying to get rid of thought. Thought is natural, but also you don't want to always just be engaging thought. That's an addiction of worry or planning or whatever you like to do. Start to notice, like I said before, notice the themes of your thinking mind. They're not many. You know, it might be like complaining, the weather's too hot, the weather's too cold, not enough salad, too much salad, whatever your mind likes to complain about. Start to identify the themes that the thinking mind goes to. For me, it's usually like the theme that my mind picks up most in a retreat is, what am I going to say? What should I say? You know, oh, that's worry. Worry feels like this. And then I come back to the silence. For you, it might be your you know, your kids are having a problem, or your grandkids are having a problem, and your mind will go to that memory, and that'll be the theme your mind keeps picking up on. Oh, what's going to happen with my kids? And oh, there's worry, and then stop. Worry feels like this. Stop the mind. Come to silence. Keep coming to silence. Keep interrupting the patterns and habits of the themes that your thinking mind gets caught onto. And then the silence becomes, of course, more profound, more dominant. And your what is your default mechanism in life? Thinking, isn't it? You know, when you got nothing to do, what do? You think. You know, if you're in a traffic jam, what do? You think, or you scroll. I'm sorry. People don't, you kind of scroll, but either you're thinking or scrolling, but you're always out doing something and distracted, and we don't tend to give ourselves a chance to notice the silence, come back to the silence. Huh? So now you don't have a chance to scroll, so you think. If you had a chance to scroll, you'd scroll. I think a really good practice would be that we put all the phones out for everyone, right? Just in front of you, right? And now I watch everyone. All right, who's going to take the phone first? And it would be so strong, wouldn't it? I would want to look at something. What's my WhatsApp say? So the same thing actually goes on with any kind of sense experience. Our mind likes to go out. The mind going out is the cause. The result of the mind going out is suffering. The mind knowing the mind is the path. The result of the mind knowing the mind is the end of suffering. So what we're doing is coming back to just this real home ground of knowing. It's like this. And if it's open-hearted, it has a pleasant feeling to it. If it's like, I must go back to the home ground, I must make some kind of strong adhitthana to come back to the home ground, then it's usually like very ego-oriented, self-oriented. But the open heart's very relaxed, isn't it? It's relaxed. Oh, it's like this, open. And then the silence, getting to the silence. So those are just reflections on my sense of what right effort is. What is effort and right? I think more like I like right attitude. What is it? What is an attitude that I can bring to this present moment as peaceful and helpful? So this kind of teaching is always reflective. So you take it into your own. You've all got lots of experience, and I think one of you will teach the next one next time, and I'll sit there or something like that. And you have lots of. So if something I say doesn't quite fit, fine. That's the idea of not having a dogmatic teaching. Dogmatic teaching says, this is the way it is for sure. You can listen to me and say, well, maybe for you, mate, but maybe not for me, which is fine, which is actually intelligent in terms of reflection. So see what works for you, what actually works for you. So let's stretch your legs and then do some more sitting. So take a posture. Start by listening. Allow sound to be what it is. So listening, the awareness rather than the sound itself. Listening. Welcoming, knowing, just as when you establish listening, notice like just the kind of tendency to be anticipating something, like an experience of something. So just back, that kind of thing. Non-anticipation. You're not preoccupied with sound. You just know sound as it is. So non-distraction, non-preoccupation. So you're available to the way things are. Then if there's pain or whatever, acceptance of everything, non-resistance. And so these are the ideas of desirelessness. Mind relaxed, open, body not tense, knowing the way things are, open-hearted. So if we were to call that balance, how can we sustain balance? Pick up the breath. Notice an in-breath Notice an out breath, and use the breath to sustain this balanced listening awareness. Open-hearted, knowing one breath, knowing an in-breath, knowing an out-breath. Now, don't fall asleep. You have to there has to be some vitality. So become curious. What does an in-breath feel like? And what does an out-breath feel like? So sustain that interest. So it's very open awareness, and then interested in this object in a kind of open and kind way. Become interested in the whole breath cycle. So put a lot of emphasis in knowing the end of the out breath. What's it like, the end of the out breath? Try not to go to past. Try not to go to future. Let go of thinking. The end of the in-breath. The transition. How does that feel? Transition to the beginning of the out-breath. So you become curious in a very open-hearted way. And like you're observing your cat or your pet dog, how they behave. The observation doesn't have any desire in it. You're not trying to get anything. But you have enough energy to sustain that now because you're curious. So anyway, you're giving yourself to this experience. Just give yourself to one in-breath. Give your attention to one out-breath as an act of kindness and goodness, that kind of attitude. So it's like a friend. Hey, breath, how you doing? Hey, in-breath. You're with a friend. And all the planning and thinking and memories, not necessary. Not now. So the attitude is one in which it's like a pleasant doing and a happy doing rather than a controlling and frustrated kind of thing. The Thich Nhat Hanh often recommends smiling. And again, the end of the out breath. Just really let go there. Feel the whole body relax at the end of the out breath. And the in-breath takes care of itself. And because this is so relaxed, people fall asleep. So then what do you do? On the in-breath, you open the chest. Say to yourself, oh, how about some more air? Fill up the chest, open the chest, raise the posture. That's quite pleasant, actually. Right to the end of the out breath. Just kind of curiosity, interest, give yourself to that. Notice the body can really relax at the end of the out breath. There's no tension in the hands, in the face. And let go at the end of the out breath. And then welcome the next in breath. Remember silence. This requires no thought. When you get too passive, your mind drifts off. You may bring up curiosity. What's it like, the end of the out breath? What's it like, change from in to out? Create interest around something which is perhaps not so interesting. You're becoming too passive and dulling out, then play with the breath and make it stronger. Take a deep in-breath. Enjoy the in-breath. And make a long out-breath. Enjoy the end of the out-breath. Take a deep in-breath, and then make the out-breath the same length. So if you're too passive, you can be more active. Do something, but it's not from desire. You're just playing around, staying in the moment. So you engage the breath, play around with it. And then if the mind has enough energy, then you naturally move more and more to stillness. Stillness. And then sustain interest for a whole in-breath, right to the end of the in-breath. And then a whole out-breath. So interest, kindness, awareness, and keep those factors operating, and the mind begins to just collect into the present moment. There's no desire in this. It's just doing because it's appropriate to do.